Okay, hear me out with this one. Hear me out, because I feel like we all saw the same movie. Okay, hear me out. Hello, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new, welcome. Today we are talking about a fiction called "Stick Together." Now, listen. Technically, this is. I feel like it's old, but then I looked at like the date, and it's not that old. I just feel like I read it forever ago. But I had rewatched both of the movies, and I was like, you know what? I used to have like the biggest, like when I first watched it, like years ago, I used to have like the biggest crush on Max. I don't know the angst. I don't know. Look, hear me out as it is. Okay, hear me out. In this story, we follow Nicole, or goes by Nikki, that they all call her by. And Nikki ends up, we do get some backstory on Nikki, and it is like, ooh, I do love how like this person they wrote it, because it is like everything's kind of written out, right? It's foreshadowing. It's like I love it. But Nicole has a half brother, right? She has a half brother. They moved, so they're technically neighbors of Max. And how they first met, which is Max being really bad at basketball, and her finally moving to the same school. So she ends up meeting BJ and Bobby. They all become this tight group, right? And kind of like the title, oh my god, it was said stick together. It's like they promised they'd be best friends, right? That they stick together. And so they've stuck by each other's side ever since they've met. It's always been just the four of them. And obviously, he's like really into Roxanne, right? He spends like the entire first movie. I mean, technically it's on the trip, but like it's this whole big deal. Like he really is like all about Roxanne, right? So that doesn't change. He's still really into Roxanne. And he, by this point, Nicole is, he asks, the rest of them for help, obviously doing the whole mini Powerline concert during the school assembly. And Nicole is down for it. But obviously by this point, she has like a crush on Max, and she's liked him since forever. And at first she never really noticed it, because, he asked her, it's like, why are you acting so weird? She's like, I'm not acting weird. Until she kind of put the pieces together on her own. It's like she was unconsciously changing the way she kind of acted around him. And she's like, oh my god, I like it. It's like, but she never said anything ever, because, she never wanted like out of fear, like ruining their friendship. And also really no point, because again, he's really into Roxanne, so she would definitely get rejected. And her thing is like she like can't even be mad at Roxanne, like, or like she feels like a bit like a jealousy, which, normal. But she can't even like hate Roxanne, because she talks to her sometimes like, she's nice and she's a very sweet person and she's great. And like what she notices that Max doesn't is that Roxanne, because he's trying really hard to get Roxanne to notice him, and Nicole doesn't say anything, but she already knows like he doesn't really need to do any of that, because Roxanne already notices him. She already sees like the subtle glances over that she does to Max. So it's like Roxanne already knows he exists. She already kind of finds him cute. So it's like really none of that mattered. You're doing this for nothing. But she keeps that to herself, really, about her thing for Max, and just never says anything about it. The entirety of like the first movie, right? 'Cause they did both of them. The entirety of the first movie is relatively the same, just with Nikki added. It's like some cute moments here and there where it's like Max is kind of like some cute moments between them. And the whole thing about it is that Nikki is actually moving, right? She's moving to New York because her dad got this big opportunity, so they're moving. And she never told Max, because obviously this, during the first movie, it's this summer trip that they're going on. So she never told Max because he was already in a bad mood, and she just wanted this trip like for them to have fun. And maybe, like this could be like the last thing that they'll like remember. It's like that they had fun on this trip, even though it wasn't really what he planned, right? So he's kind of starts off as this moody stuff, not really enjoying it much, but at least he has Nikki there, right? And Nikki ends up going because her parents allow her, and they know how close she is with Max and how much she really does love Max. So like they do let her go on this trip, and Goofy reassures, and it's like, oh, it'll be completely, like, she'll be completely fine. Ugh. And everything happens. So throughout it, they have like little cute moments here and there where it's so clear that it's like Tom. It's like he like unknowingly clearly likes her. And by the end of it, where, you know, she kind of makes an excuse to like go home early. She's like, "Oh, I promised. As soon as we go home, I go to them." It's really because she's got to pack up the rest of her stuff, and they're leaving. And so Max is like, "What on to Roxanne?" And so as he's coming back, he's like, he can't wait to tell Nikki about it. He can't wait to, and he's seeing like movie vans, her, taking boxes out. It's like, "You're moving?" And it's like, "You never told me." And it's like, well, So they kind of have like not really like a fight or an argument. Really, it was just like it's like a sad moment where they really kind of realize like, damn, really going our separate ways, and they kind of, you know, they hug and they kind of start crying. And this is where she finally does confess to Max that she likes him, because I mean, like, might as well at this point. Like, if he doesn't want to, I mean, if he doesn't want to be mad, like, you're at least moving, so you don't see each other. But so she does at least confess, and at first he's like stupid, so he doesn't even register that's what she's saying. It's like, yeah, like you do. It's like, no, idiot, she really likes him. And like how like the moment of like self-awareness too, he even like recalls back obviously all those moments where it's like, I literally talked about like nothing but Roxanne at all. And he's like, and you even helped me with it. It's like, help me get Roxanne. It's like, why would you do that? And obviously she's like, because I care about you. Like, your happiness means more to me than, like, and if I could at least still be your friend, like, that's all that really mattered to her. And, he's like, why didn't you at least tell me? It's like, it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, like, you, like, because again, he was really into Roxanne. It's like, he would have rejected me anyway. And, like, he doesn't say it out loud, but he's thinking, it's like, would I? No. He would have not. Well, he would have been collected. But it's, like, very clear, like, we could see throughout the entire trip. It's, like, it's one of those moments where it's, like, because Nikki is always, they promise to stick together. So it's not a doubt in his mind that Nikki will always be there. And because of that, now that she's leaving, it's the first time he's having to think, what am I, like, what am I going to do, right? Because she's always going to be there. But now that she's not, it's like, you don't know what you have until it's gone. But they end up exchanging, right? She at first ends up, because she had a shirt of his that she never ended returning. And so now it's like a good time to return it. But he insists, like, you keep it, so you don't forget me. And, as if she could ever forget anyone like him. And in return, she gives him her skateboard, that she really loves and treasures, And he really, like, her yellow skateboard, he really treasures that. And it's shown, like, in, like, the second movie that it's like he really keeps that. But instead of, like, saying goodbye, they do the whole, like, see you later thing. And, because, like, it can't be, like, it won't be the end. It's not, obviously. And I love how in between, like, like, after the first movie's finished, they do, like, a little in-between, little missing you kind of chapter. And it's from both perspectives, how they're doing apart. It's been 2 years at this point, and how they're both doing. Nicole, not that great. She's still sad, which, makes sense. Person she really liked and spent, God, years together. She's like apart from, and her parents kind of recognize that too. And like, oh, give her some time. Like, and then we get Max. he's got the girl, he's got, everything, and yet he's still kind of like he spaces out to the point where like it's noticeable on dates. Like Roxanne has to like bring him back to like go back to reality because he's like thinking about her. Like he looks at like the skateboard. Like he takes really good care of that skateboard. It, you know, reminder of her. He takes really good care of that. And like anytime he looks at it, it just reminds him of her. Then during the second movie where we're now heading out to college and Max is excited, X Games, whatever, and we get Nicole. She gets there like a day early, right before Max at all, and her brother's gonna be there, like, oh, because her parents want him to watch out for her, take care. It's like, and she's like, ugh, and she's annoyed because it's already been like established like since the first chapter that her and her brother like love each other very much, obviously, but he's kind of a dick, and the relationship was kind of strained in the beginning. Like it was fine, and then it got strained because he got older, and she's like the younger sister, and then it kind of got better. And we see this because like the first time that her and Max met, she was like telling, because she had no one else to rant to, she was telling him about her brother, how in the beginning, he was fine, he would play with her, he's protective, and then he kind of changed to like never acknowledging her existence, and when he would, it would always be to like insult and belittle her, and that would be it. And the reason, because like he's like in middle school, and he kind of became suddenly popular with like the girls, and like just popular in general, and it's like to the point where like he had friends come over, they saw her, and they were accusing who she was because he was just like telling everyone like, I'm an only child, and that like I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that would also hurt me too. Like if I'm really close to my sibling, and then out of nowhere they start acting like a dick, to the point where they're telling other people I'm an only sibling, irreversible. But like, so now that they're like older, both in college, it's like he's still a dick, but they're better now, right? Their relationship's kind of better. She's still like, you suck, and she actually tells him so. And this is the first time that we're meeting her brother, right? Because we've only ever been told, and like once, which is like in the first chapter, of like that she has a brother and that he's kind of a dick, and that's it. Like, and that he just exists. It's the first time that we're ever meeting him. Her brother is literally Bradley. When I read it, I'm like, it ties together. Oh my god. the conflict, oh my god. When I first read that, I was like, oh, we're going somewhere with this. The drama, immaculate. We're getting somewhere with this. And we can see the dynamic between the two of them too. How like she curses, he immediately hits the back of her head, like, don't curse in front of my house. Like, don't curse in the front house. Like he set the rules, and he's like, look, mom better tell me look after you, that's what I'm gonna do. Pulls some strings, and he got, because he like tutored the vice principal's kid or whatever, so now they have like all their classes together. It's like he's really taking it, so like you can see like that protective streak never went away. It's just almost quieter, like more in the background. Like it's not as like, it's rougher, right? Because I can see as a kid where like she described it's like, oh, he was protective, like, so he was very out in the open with it. Now he's very awkward, and he doesn't really do that. And it shows later too how Bradley, like from his point of view, he's like, he's never been great with feelings, so he doesn't know what to do, and we'll get to that later. But it's literally Bradley, and that kills me. But during the whole intro, obviously the first movie, the second movie, where Max finally arrives with friends and they're skating, and they end up going to the coffee shop. That's where they get like glimpses, right? Max gets a glimpse of Nikki, brush it off, no way it's her. They finally arrive at the shop. They finally see, oh my god, it's Nikki. And so this is where they finally reunite, all four of them. They end up catching up, kinda, not really. This is the first time that they both get to see how much they've changed too. And obviously, by this point, we learn they kind of catch up because it gets interrupted, but it's enough to gauge that like Max and Roxanne, oh, they broke up like before you went to college. What? Like, and even Nikki's like, it's been all that time. It's like, you broke up? And she's like, oh, like, are you like okay? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like it was a mutual breakup. But there's clearly something there that's like, it wasn't a mutual breakup, or at least not like in the way that he's like telling it, right? And that's when Bradley comes in, and he kind of, this is where it cements that him and Max are now rivals, and he starts messing with Bobby and BJ. And that's where he sees Nicole, and he's like, they're both surprised. It's like, hold on, you know him? They're like, since when? And, she looks at Max like, yeah, that's my brother. It's like, I told you about him. It's like, you met him once. But it's like, he's like, no. But then we get a flashback to where they were chilling out in his room. They were playing games. She gets called down because her brother's here. It's like, and he does meet him. Like, he wouldn't say meet, but he sees him very briefly. And so, but he ends up hearing like part of the conversation as they're walking off, as he like drags her out of the house, where he's like, again, this is where the protective comes in. So it's like, it was always there. It's just kind of gotten more, because he just sucks at emotions. So it's like not as open, right? But he, like, part of the conversation is like, he basically doesn't like her, like, in his room, like, alone with the boys. Like, I know what they're thinking. It's like, the guy was like, I thought I told you no boys until like you're like 50. No boys till then. It's like, so it's kind of, darkness is always there, even when he like is in middle school, and it's kind of a dick. It's just, he's just terrible at expressing it. But last thing, he's like, oh my god, I did kind of see you briefly. And this is where, because he just has to be, this is where he recognized, oh, this is Max. The Max that you like had a crush on. It's like, why did you bring that up? And he's like, well, whatever happened, I don't even remember the other dude's name, but he says like a guy's name because this was someone like when they separated, like in New York in different school, this was someone who she had dated. And this surprises Max. And this is clearly what he wanted to get under Max's skin, which, like, you suck. Something like that. She would go, I was like, we weren't even really dating. Like, what are you talking about? After, like, the whole little, cafe scene, Bobby and BJ go back to the dorm. And then Bobby and BJ go back to the dorm. And Max, because he wants to spend time with Nikki. And so they go spend some time on their own before he goes back. And this is where they don't get fully into a relationship. Well, he doesn't. She does, though. But where it's like, who's like, oh, who's Justin? It was Justin. It's like, well, who's Justin? And this is where she explains, like, it wasn't really like a relationship, but it's like one of those relationships where it's like a rebound, or is that really a rebound? Because they weren't really dating. It was basically like she threw herself in a relationship to like, because he was nice and very sweet, and she threw herself into a relationship as like a why not, because like to get over Max. But obviously she wasn't really into relationships, so didn't work out. And Max, he's like, oh, what a coincidence, because like she kept thinking about him. It's like, oh, what a coincidence, because like kind of like the same way, because like he was thinking about Nikki so much, because like obviously they miss each other. And this is where like he doesn't go, but it's so obvious, because again, he kind of lied where he said it was a mutual breakup, and it kind of was but wasn't, because kind of like Nikki, he was like almost checked out of the relationship because he missed Nikki so much. And Roxanne saw that, and it's like, so before they went off to college, it's like, oh, well, maybe long distance relationship isn't for us, so she's very nice about it. It's like, so it was kind of, like it's more like she just saw, like, all right, you clearly miss Nikki. It's like, you're not really in this dish anymore. Let's end it here, right? Without really saying that. But Max didn't really say that, so Nikki still has no idea. She's just like, I thought about you a lot. So they kind of like, like all the time. Because like, they clearly very much missed each other the entire time they were gone. I do like how from like this moment where you can truly see, like, because I feel like in the movie it's more like not glossed over, but it's like in like montages that you can see like the rivalry in like the animosity between them. In this, because it's like written out, you can really like see it. And because Nicole like Nikki's like in the middle, like that's her brother, but this is this is Max, best friend, guy she also likes, which is like just a thing that they both know but never act on for now anyway, is that they both very clearly still like each other, but they don't act on it in that moment right there. But they, but you can like when they're getting ready for class, she goes to sit down next to Max, but ends up having to sit next to Brad because he again hates he does not want her sitting anywhere near him at all. And it's coming from a place of like him not liking Max, but also being very protective of her. Because after, Goofy comes and, Max in the situation, he wants, he invites Nikki over to their dorm so they could like all four of them have a team meeting again. And so, after that, she's, because she kind of stayed over at the Gamma house and her dorm, so she's in the Gamma house. As she's walking out, she runs into Brad, and he puts it together that she's going over to, like, and he's like immediately like, I'm sorry, you're going over to a guy's dorm, like, and you're gonna talk, like, that's all you're gonna do, like, you sure? He's like, I wouldn't know, like, you could be a creep. It's like, yeah, she's like, he's not, he's like a really good friend. And this is like one of the moments where, like, again, terrible at showing his feelings, and she knows this, but he's being as vulnerable as like he can be, where he's like, I'm just trying to look out for you, right? And obviously, at first she's like, oh, is this just mom talking? Because like it is, she knows that it is him, but it's also, she can't tell the difference of like, sometimes it's coming from him and other times it's just because this is what their mom told them to do. But nope, all him. He really does want, and she, again, acknowledges that, because even when they're kind of not saying eye to eye each other, she still says like, she still says I love you before like running out the door. And so I do like this moment of like, even though they're not like seeing eye to eye on like Max, he, he still takes the time like, I'm just trying like to protect you. I don't want you to get hurt. She acknowledges that, but she also like, this is her friend, so like he wouldn't do anything to hurt her. I mean, after like the whole team meeting, like Max walks her back to her place, which is technically the Gamma house. And so, when Brad, sees him there, he's like, ugh, why did you bring him back here? And he's like, well, he wanted to talk to me for a bit, like in her room. And he's like, and at first, like he really does want to protest, but like he sees Nicole, like in the look that she gives him, and he's like, fine. He's like, but I don't want to hear any weird noises like coming from your room, right? And she's like, and he said, like, he's like, keep the door open. And like, obviously she doesn't, like, out of spite, she like slams the door because she like refuses. But it's so clear that it's like, he wants, like, he really does love her and care for her. I mean, they didn't do anything other than like, because he wanted to make their little team uniforms for like the X game. Throughout all this, Nikki and Max are kind of like rekindling their relationship, like, so like, oh, they're getting closer, right? And during the whole club scene, God, during that whole club scene, iconic by the way, during that, they have a great time. They're, laughing, they're dancing, and then it kind of goes south, right? Because he's walking her back and this is where, they arrive. And this is where he leans in for a kiss, except she stops it because she has to ask, like, what am I to you? It's like, but then she asks about Roxanne. It's like, do you still have feelings for her? And he hesitates. Not because he needs to think about it, but because, like, he's so caught off guard by the question. But, Nikki interprets that as, like, and that's never good. So, of course, she takes it the wrong way, and he's like, no, I don't. And to be fair, from her point of view, again, like, she doesn't know completely, but, like, to be fair, from her point of view, Max is, like, only, and, like, she explains, like, this is, like, Roxanne you're talking about, that she's all you ever talking about. Part of, like, you said that this was, like, the girl of your dreams, and you dated her for 3 years. Like, be understanding that you haven't gotten over her in that, short, like, span of time. And she kind of, like, says as much, but, like, she doesn't also want to be a rebound. Like, she likes Max, but she doesn't want to be a rebound. And, Max saying, like, no, like, trying to deny it. But then she's like, oh, like, because they broke up. She's like, did you really mutually break up, or did she break up? And obviously he doesn't really have a response to that because, yeah, that is what happened. They did break up, like, or she broke up with him. And then they're kind of interrupted because Brad ends up opening, and he stops halfway because he just feels the awkwardness, and he, like, sees, like, kind of what's the look on their faces, like, what's going, like, am I interrupting something? Like, no. So she rushes past inside, and he's over looking at her like, what did you do? Because immediately protective takes over. It's like, no, what did you do to my sister? At this point, weeks go by. They haven't talked to each other, like, at all, right? And they're both, like, so in their own heads that they're thinking the other probably hates me. So it's like, oh my god, you guys don't talk to each other. I swear. But then this is, like, the first, where X Games is starting now, and they finally face off against Brad. And again, he's pissed off because, like, that's his sister, right? That's it, like, you can't really say, he can't say it to his, like, her face clearly, but he absolutely will step to, like, it's like immediately where they go to taunt, right? He obviously taunts kind of first, but then Max, like, a response, and he's like, I'm gonna make sure to kick your ass, like, especially what you did to my sister. It's like, Max is like, I didn't do anything, which is, like, he didn't, which is also the problem of, like, he didn't do it. He didn't say anything, which is like, you were supposed to. Jesus. But this is where he finds out, like, Brad obviously doesn't believe him because, like, as soon as she was in her room, she started crying. It's like, ugh, yeah, that's bad. After the whole, like, barely qualifying, in the first round, Max is clearly feeling a whole different, like, he's upset, he's angry, and he ends up taking it out obviously on people he loves. Right? He ends up taking it out on Goofy, and he ends up taking it out on Nicole. Right? She's trying to talk to him, and she's trying to, cheer him up, like, it's not that bad. Doesn't go that way. And he basically ended up getting into, like, a small argument, and he basically said, I wish you never came back from New York. And it's like, yikes. And she's like, oh, you don't mean that. But he never answers. And of course, like, in his head, he's like, of course I don't mean it, but he can't bring himself to say it because he's like, he just can't. And so she ends up crying. And so she ends up running out, and it's like, now we're both crying because he just, like, falls back on the bed. He's like, God. And so this is where we get Brad's point of view because she ends up running in her room crying. And this is where we get from Brad's point of view. And I like how he can admit, he's like, okay, he sucks. But it doesn't mean he doesn't care about his sister, right? And that's not just coming from, like, oh, their parents told him to take care of her. No, he genuinely does care for her. And so, but when he hears her crying, like, he freezes because, like, he genuinely doesn't know what to do. And the first time he ever heard her crying, he just left. Like, he didn't know what to do. He left, and he felt guilty, and he would still feel guilty if he, like, did that now. Like, the first time he ever, like, that ever happened was way back in like what, middle school or something. And this is where obviously she's still going to school with Max. It's where she really liked this guy. He found out. And so in the cafeteria in front of everyone, humiliating her, basically telling how he would never go out with someone like her or ever like anyone like her. And that's humiliating anyone. So she started crying and he overheard it, because Max was covering her. He overheard that and he couldn't find himself to comfort her because he's just so awkward. But he damn sure made sure that that guy regretted it. It's not like real what he said or did, but like the next day, he was practically he's begging, right? He's apologizing to her, and obviously she knows like it was him. So it's pretty obvious like she knows on some level. It's like, okay, he clearly cares. And so when she reveals, like, yeah, he basically said that he basically wished they never reunited. He's pissed off because it's like, what the like he can tell like he clearly likes like she doesn't like. He can tell that Max likes his sister, but it's like to say this is like, what the fuck? It's like, what are we doing here? And so, now he's like even more pissed off. And so when the finals finally happen, he basically needs someone to step in, which is her as a Gamma. And because she was technically backup, she didn't want to do it in the first place, but in case anyone got hurt. But so now she's a Gamma for now. At first, she really didn't she kind of didn't want to do it because, didn't really want to see Max at that moment. He's like, no, it's fine. If anything, I'll take care of it. He's like, I've been wanting to kick his ass anyway. It's like, he's ready for it. He does not care. During the whole last rounds, where it's finally, we're at the climax, we're ending, right? With the whole X Games and everything. She tries to, because Goofy tries to do it too, but he gets brushed off. And then she comes in and she's like, Bradley's planning something, like he's going to cheat. And so now they're like, oh no. Like, that's twice. Like, two different people tried to tell them. And obviously Max, like at first, he's like looking at it, but she's like, would you stop looking at the uniform? Like, there's nothing to do with that. Like, focus on what I'm saying to you, but like they hesitate. And then obviously it does happen. And when the whole explosion thing happens with Tank in our trap, Nikki also ends up trapped underneath. And so now they also have to go get her. It's like, oh shit. But it all works out in the end. And, Max ends up winning. Brad ends up going up to them. Bad is off. And he's like, oh, I think he was an apology. So he does apologize to Nikki. He's like, yeah, I kind of suck as a brother. And she ends up, hugging him. It's like, yeah, you're not great, but you're not the worst. She's like, but also, I'm telling mom and dad everything. He's like, I expect as much, whatever. He doesn't even care. He's like, I expect as much. I don't even care. He's like, he doesn't, he's like, yeah, that's how that going. Like, doesn't even, he's like, yep, knew it. But he quickly, like, zeroes in on Max. He's like, you better treat her right. Like, immediately come and circle back to that, right? And then Tank kind of grabs a hold of him because it's like, I mean, you also screwed him over, son, And then we kind of wrap it up with Goofy graduating, and then we finally ending with the card of just them and asking, it's like, oh, would you ever think we'd end up like this? And she, and he's like, not really, but glad that it ended this way. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!